Hello, good evening, and welcome to Likutey Moharan. Uh, the the night before the day of Dikas Chometz Tafshin Pei Bes. So we are learning Terech of Gimel Tzivisa Tzedek, and we said that the same way that a person Tikkun Abris, a person is zecher to to be rescued from greed. And Tikkun Abris is Pchinas Melach, Pchinas Tzadik. We also said that mezuzah is also the secret mystery behind mezuzah is um, have many propensities. Everybody knows that mezuzah is shmira, and but mezuzah is also a segula to um, to rescue someone from greed, from Tavis Mammon. And it's intrinsic in the name of the mezuzah and where the mezuzah is placed. In the name mezuzah is the name zuz. Zuz is in Aramaic is a coin. As we know, Mitzvah Shem Seder night, after the Seder, we say Chad Gadya. Chad Gadya is one kid that father bought in two zuzim. So the name of a coin is zuzim. Why are they called zuzim? Zuzim is because zuzim shall move. Zuz. I'm probably living in Israel. You're all familiar with the word zuz. Whenever you come, people push you or they tell you zuz, move. Anyhow, so coins are called zuzim because it's the nature of coins that they move. With the money itself, you can't do anything. You can't eat money. But what you can do is you buy something from someone, and by doing so, the money moves from you to him, and in return, whatever it is that you buy comes to you. So mezuzah has in it the word zuz, and mezuzah is mamtik, the taivas moment. How is it mamtik the taivas moment? On the mezuzah, on the outside, there's the name Shin Daled Yud. That name of Hashem, Shin Daled Yud, is the name Kodesh of the Spheres HaYesod. So the Shmiras Abris, Shmiras HaYesod is Pchinas Tzadik. So in the mezuzah you have the Zuz, which is the money, and you have the Shmiras Abris, you have the Shin Daled Yud. And we said that when a person believes that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is giving it parnasa very easily, what that does is it facilitates his parnasa, and the parnasa flies to him. He doesn't need to work hard. In fact, working hard is a consequence of lack of faith. So, as we said, we explained that it is through dealing fairly and dealing be'emunah. Why do you deal fairly? Because you believe that your parnasa is in the hands of Hashem Yisbarach, and it's totally up to him. So you don't need to quote unquote help him by cheating or conniving or trying to get away with anything. Forget whatever it is you promise you do, and that's it. So we said it that this is somehow the chai, this is the sign of life. And now this is because of all this, this is the sign of life, because when you are conquering and a person overcomes his greed. He's zoiche to the orachaim, the face, the light of the face of Hashem. When you look at the light of the face of Hashem, it's this is where the chaim is. Forget, a person who is chasing his money is the in of Misa lo aleinu. And so this is said, and it says, Bishvil ze kviyas mezuzah. This is the reason why the fixing of the mezuzah, b'shlisha elyon shel Pesach. This is why you have to fix it in the upper third of the Pesach. Now, you know that Ilchas Kviyas Mezuzah is that when it says where do you place the mezuzah? From the Torah we don't know, because the Torah says we're just supposed to affix mezuzah to the door. But Chazal says that what you do is you divide the opening into thirds, and it says, and you put the mezuzah in the beginning of the upper third, shlisha elyon. Shlisha elyon doesn't mean just upper third geographically, that it's the highest one. It's also shlisha elyon, that's the best place. That's a superior place to put the mezuzah. That's obviously, if you're talking about a regular door, what happens if the door is like 20 ams high, whatever? So where do you put the mezuzah? And so you put the mezuzah about shoulder high, so you can just touch the mezuzah and kiss. Interestingly enough, the doorways nowadays is about 2 meters tall, and so a third, the upper third is just around the height of the shoulder. So Rabbeinu here reveals that in that fact that Chazal said the mezuzah should be placed, should be affixed in the beginning of the upper third of the doorpost, there is that secret Rabbeinu is talking about. Ki amru chachamenu zichron livrocha Lo'olam mishalosh odom es mo'isav. If a person wants to make sure that his fortune, his money, is invested properly, obviously after giving meiser and stock and everything. So he says a person should divide his money into 3 parts. And this is the cheshbon is that Chazal are the original, investment funds, and they give you the ideal proportion that it has the propensity for the highest growth and for the greatest safety. So they say to get the most out of your money. So this says you should divide your whatever money that you have into thirds. Shlish, a third of it, you should invest pragmatia in the business. Do business, buy, sell, whatever. The second thing is in land, meaning you buy, real estate, you buy an apartment, you buy a house. You rent it out, whatever it is that you do with it. And the third is you keep it in cash. Keep it in cash, cash or bank account, whatever it is. In other words, it's immediately available. Now, the cheshbon is as follows. That part which you do in business, obviously, that's the biggest risk factor is the highest in business. You may win, you may lose. And the part that is invested in real estate, that part is it's safe, but it's slow. I'm not talking about somebody who's who's buying and selling real estate, then that's his business. There's no. I'm talking about somebody who's buying for himself, an investment, an apartment, whatever it is. So it's safe because apartments keep their value. But what do you make out of it? You can rent it out for a couple of thousand shekels, whatever it is. It's not a high yielding kind of investment, but it's safe. So if you have in business, you have the highest margin for profit. In real estate it's the safety margin and lower safety margin factor. When it comes to investment in real estate, they come close. In other words, the money is lesser, but the value is secured. And the last third is to have it in cash. When you have it in cash, we all know that the banks don't give you almost anything for your money in the bank. It's ludicrous what they give you. The When a person owes them, then suddenly the interest climbs and climbs and climbs and gets out of hand. But if you have money in the bank, they'll just charge you left and right on any kind of transaction. But it doesn't really make any money. So what's the idea with that? The idea with that is that when it's under your hand and a good deal comes along, you don't have to start looking for money or for loans or for whatever it is in order to take advantage of the opportunity. You have the money in your hand, so it's immediately available. So that's available to you at all time. That's the safest. But I mean, even selling a real estate, takes time and so forth and so on. Cash money is cash. Um, um, so as they used to say in the Soviet Union, uh, ruble is money, vodka is cash. Anyhow, so money in the bank is cash. So on one hand, it's available immediately. On the other hand, it doesn't make you any money. It doesn't produce. So as says Kimamar, it says Vashlisha Elyon, the highest, the top yielding part is Shlish Bepragmatia, the Shlish Bepragmatia, and that third, which is in commerce, is investment in commerce. Kimamar Chamin Zichron Livrocha, as Chazal said, Tavin Chamshin de Avdin, it is better to have 50 zoos that work. In other words, they are in circulation. You are buying, you're selling. Mimatan de lo Avdin, then 200 zoos that are just sitting there. The reason why Chazal use 50 and 200, this is when Chazal are talking about what is the definition of a pauper. Somebody that can be misparnas from the Kupa Shel Tzedakah. How much is the gather? How much money do you need to have in order not to be considered a pauper anymore? So Chazal said that the minimum amount that you need to have is 200 zuz. 200 zuzim is the amount that it used to suffice for a person to live for a year. In other words, you're on chalat, you're not working, whatever it is, you have 200 zuz, you can live on it for a whole year. You don't have to worry about it, you have to borrow, this, whatever it is. You just, watch your expenses, you have 200 zuz. You live for a year. The year end, you have to look for other 200 zuz. Because the 200 zuz is just sitting there, you're eating it. Which means there's a 200 zuz that don't work. This is that, this was the third in cash. However, Chazal said, so equivalent to what happens if you don't have 200 zuz in your hand. but you have 50 zoos that are invested in commerce. I says, okay, 50 zoos invested in commerce are more worthy than 200 zoos sitting under your mattress. Um, the reason is because they keep on making more money. Now, under the definition of 50 zoos in pragmatia, 50 zoos in commerce, applies obviously if you have an income, for if you have a job or whatever it is. This is all considered, the 50 zoos in pragmatia. That you can. So that's considered that this is when you're no longer an oni. So the Rabbeinu says, they said the shlisha b'pragmatia is in other words that 50, that thing that that is in business. It's better chamshin de'avdim tan de'lo avdim, because the ikar emuna needs to be in masamat. The main emuna has to be in masamat. The reason why they say that the top third is the superior third, is the shlisha elyon, and that corresponds to the third of your resources. They're supposed to be invested in commerce, because the most emunah that a person needs to have, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one that determines how much you're going to have and how much you're not going to have, is in business. Person can daven in the shul, Baruch Hashem, and keep Torah mitzvahs and keep Shabbos and everything. And you need a certain level of emunah to keep your ship afloat, to live your life as a Torah Jew. The iffy part, the part where it's the most difficult, is in commerce, in business. There is where the biggest nisayon is. There, your emunah has to be active. Kol ma David Rachmon letava avid. The main thing is in business. That is when your emunah is actually tested to its limit. It's in the Sata Masah be'emunah. So nimtza sheikar moment. So it says that, as they said, when a person is after 120 years, when they put him, bring him to Beis Din, the first question is, if he's osik b'terba. The second question is, did you deal honestly? This is where the question is, nasata v'nasata be'emunah, without cheating. In other words, they're asking the question, when you were doing business, were you, did you believe that Kadosh Baruch Hu can sustain you with a small effort? Nimtza sheikar moment shesham tzarich emunah. Now you see that the main portion of your resources that requires the highest grade of emunah, ubashlish elyon, is in the upper third. Shu bashlish bepragmatia. That's the third that invested in commerce. So the mezuzah has it in it. Zuz is in of pragmatia, emuna, shlisha elyon. Even where you place the mezuzah, so you divide your resources into thirds. The upper third is the third that you invest in commerce. That's the one that requires the most emuna. So mezuzah that has in it both the name zuzim and both the union of Shem Shakai, Shin Daled Yud, and it also has the letters Mem Vav Taf, which is Lo Aleinu, is Mavis. This is when Chas v'Chalila, a person does not have emunah, and therefore is steeped in greed. And Rabbeinu says this is when you are saved from greed, When you are spared and rescued from greed, you are connected to the light of the face of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the light of Emes, the light of Yaakov. If a person is not, if Chas v'Chalila Zaz, if a person is not Zuz, but it's Zaz, that the person does not believe in it, he moves away from the Emunah as Chas v'Chalila as Mem Vav Taf. So now we say how in this Torah we explained all the in the pasuk Tzivisa Tzedek Edosecha. This is the first pasuk Rabbeinu started the Torah. Tzivisa Tzedek Edosecha v'Emuna Me'oid. You have ordered your testimonies in justice, Emuna Me'oid, in great Emuna. And it says as follows. This is Sif Hey. We're holding by. He says, "V'chol mitzvahs shel Moisei b'lo mamon." All the mitzvahs the person keeps without spending any money. He doesn't want to lose money. Shvil mitzvah, why should I spend so much money for the mitzvah? Zeh b'china nikrat tzedek. That is called justice, called tzedek. In other words, you're going to do the emun, you're going to do the mitzvah, but the minimum requirement. We said that the malchus has two facets to it. When it's connected to the chokhmah, to the oraponim, to the light of Kodesh Baruch Hu, to the emunah, and when it's chas v'chalila disconnected. And emunah has the power of malchus. What's the power of a malchus? A melech has two unique abilities. The first ability is, of course, to give. To see that his people have parnassas, people have whatever it is. That's the second one is to, for justice, to make sure that people behave themselves and you don't go running around shooting people in the subway or in Brooklyn or whatnot. So we said is, when the malchus is disconnected, lo aleinu, it's called tzedek, justice. It mets out dinim, it dispenses dinim. But when you add the hay to it, the hay it's tzedakah, the hay is emunah, the hay is tshuva, then the tzedek becomes tzedakah. So we said when a person doesn't want to spend a lot of money for the mitzvah, zeh b'china nikrat tzedek, this is called tzedek. That's when when the malchus is small. Sfiras malchus still did not connect with emes, then it's called tzedek. Sfiras malchus is hinting to Am Yisrael when a person did not break yet his taivas moment. That why don't you want to spend money for the mitzvah? Oh, because of greed. That's why he's still far from or upon him, from the light of the face of Hashem. Shu b'chinas emes. That's why this bechina is called tzedek. It's limited. There's dinim in there. And this is what is said before, as we said before, tzivisa tzedek edotecha. In other words, the mitzvah, the testimonies and the mitzvahs are tzedek. When you don't want to spend a lot of money, so yeah, you have mitzvahs and achinami, but it's b'chinas tzedek. It's not. But the mitzvah, when you like the mitzvah so much, you don't even feel how much money you're spending for it. Now the malchus is called emunah. It's no longer just tzedek, but it's also emunah. That's what the Zohar says when you connect. Hainu tzedek hainu emunah. Tzedek and emunah are basically just synonyms to the spheres of malchus. It says when you take the tzedek and you connect it to the truth is the light of Kodesh Baruch Hu, then it becomes emunah. Kikar emunah b'mamon. The main test of emunah is in mammon, in money. When a person breaks taivas mammon, when you are made able to do that, you're connecting to the panim shebekdusha. That's what the pasuk says. Ve'emunah me'oid. Why is emunah me'oid? What's the word me'oid doing there? If you recall, we are saying in Krishma, "V'ahavta es Hashem Elokecha b'chol levavcha v'chol meodecha." You know, Hashem Elokecha b'chol meodecha. What does it mean, meodecha? You know, meodecha. There are two explanations to it. One of them says b'chol meodecha means in any which way that the Kadosh Baruch Hu deals with you, thank Him profusely. And the other b'chol meodecha is b'chol meodecha with everything that you own, with your money. So me'od is a remez for money. Ve'emuna me'oid. What does emuna got to do with me'oid? What does emuna got to do with money? Emuna me'oid, this is the money. Ze moment, kmo shekosu b'chol meodecha, b'chol me'moincha. When a person is willing to quote unquote lose money for the mitzvahs, this is emuna. When he has emuna, Abchinas moment, he was able to break the Tavas moment. And now Rabbeinu explains how the entire Torah is alluded to in the original Maimar of Savad Be'atuna, that they asked Rabbi Yeshua ben Chananya, and the answers that he gave to them. Ze Perush Shamu Savad Be'atuna. They say to Rabbi Yeshua ben Chananya, Emolanu mila dechdiva, tell us words of falsehood. Adav sheker. Zeh b'chinas sheker. Falsehood is sheker, it's a lie. B'chinas avodah zarah. As Chazal said, kol machlif b'dibura, anybody that promised something and he switches, he doesn't keep his word. Ki'ilu oived avos kachavim, as if he's serving idols. In other words, they wanted him to tell them something about Avodah Zarah. And he told them, Havelan Kedenaisa V'yalda, we had a female mule, and he gave birth. Kedenaisa is a pirda, in Rosh Chodesh is pirda. Pirda is a mule, a female mule. It also Mishon Pirud, means spread out, separated. There is Yichud and there's Pirud. You know, this yichud is coming together, is put together, and pirud is when things spread out. The piruda, spread out, separated, is a pchinas akum. Avodah Zarah is called separated. The shara bepiruda, that it exists in piruda, in separation. As Zohar says, shara bechibura, v'sa bepiruda. You know, the Avodah Zarah, you know, in the beginning first, that Al Pi Kabbalah, first of all, you know, have the we'll just put it down, the Moshe B'Dvash brings it down. In the beginning, in the persona of Zer Anpin, of the Klippa, and the parts of the Malchus, the Klippa, they were connected back to back. And when they were cut, like the Malchus the Kedusha was also, you know, it's in Zer Anpin was connected with the Malchus, it was cut like Adam Rishon and Chava. So in the Kedusha, you know, when they're separated, the Kedusha, you know, they became one. You know, they faced one another. They became panim to panim. It was back to back and became panim to panim. But the klippas, even after they were already cut, they remained achar be'achar. They remained separated. In order to understand what that means, a little bit, you know, according to our Bechina, is where that which the Goyim customarily call love is really the ultimate separation. Because they don't love the person that they claim that they love. They love themselves. And the thing that they want the most is that particular person to satisfy their self-love. That's why, you know, when we say that before the chasana and the kala were back to back, like Adam and Chava. In other words, they were forbidden to one another. He is a Bachar, and she's a Bachar, and they're separated from one another. Then they make the Yerusin, they break the plate, and this is to be miramas of that Nasira between Zerampim and Malchus, and then they get married, upon him, they become one. The idea is that they should not be separated, they should become one. They start as two, and the goal is to become one. The Goyim do the opposite. They start, you're the love of my life, I love you, I can't live without you. We're one, right? And it ends up in separation because it's really never was one. That one of the Sitra Achra is really separation, is really separated. This is each one. That's why we say there's Shivim Umois, 70 nations. In the house of Yaakov is 70 nefesh, 70 soul. Because they're all one nefesh. They're all, so this says, the Zohar says, by Avodah Zarah, it starts together. Oh man, we're so we're there, we love and this and everything else. It starts as one thing. We're all one thing, all one nation. We're all forever and ever and ever. And then the true nature of this is revealed in separation. But the Jewish people, it doesn't start like that. The men and the women don't know each other. They start separate, and they come together, and the goal is to learn one another and always to look towards the other and become one. So Avodah Zarah is called Piruda. Shar B'chidit remains Piruda, remains separated. So therefore, Preda is a female mule, but it also means separation. It remains it starts connected. Oh, I love you, or maybe forever I'll buy you a diamond. On the other hand, it ends up separating. The diamond has a great investment value. Don't worry, you can buy it, because if it doesn't work out, you can always sell the diamond. The Yolda, we had in Avodah Zarah, we had this. The Yolda, it gave us it gave birth. It produces, lasting results, everlasting results. This is like Avodah Zarah got the person profit. So Savadas tell him, since when does a female mule give birth? Because Avodah Zarah, which is Preda, which is separate, which is sterile, can it possibly give you true profit? The money that people have from greed is not profit. The money that people have from greed is poison. As it says in the Zohar, Sha'akum, the Avodah Zarah, is Elach Acher, a foreign god. Istaris v'lo parent. It becomes castrated and does not. It is a eunuch and does not bear fruit. Sitra Achas Avodah Zarah is El Acher. It is castrated. It does not make fruit. In other words, that it cannot. That Avodah Zarah itself, the klippos themselves, cannot multiply and give birth to more klippos. This is a very important thing. And this is what he explains here. Also because the birthing of the Shefa comes from the yichud of Zerampin and Malchus, Nukva. That's the shurish, but it's in the klippos there is no sphere sadas, therefore there is no profit there. Without getting into more details. So how can you say that Avodah Zarah can give profit? Shulchan Aruch told them, "Hey, Ninu Mila Dechdiva, these are truly words of falsehood. Hainu Sheker, that the people that are steeped in greed, they believe that they earn a lot, but really they don't earn anything." And this is what he told him afterwards. We had a mule that gave birth. V'tala piske betzavor dave pa masik bei abba me'al fezuzeh. And in the on the neck of the fowl, there was a tzava, a star of will and testament, that it says that the children of the prader of the female mule, need to pay to whoever it is that lent to the house of their fathers 100,000 zuz. Why did he have to make it so complicated? You could just remain just saying, listen, you want to give a word of falsehood? Okay, we had a female mule that gave birth. We know it's impossible. Why do you have to go to such a fantastic length and say, something not only gave birth, but the baby that was born from that had a note written around, hang a note that says that is what savor. It's like a last will and testament that it's supposed to pay 100,000 zuz to somebody that lent that money to the father of that fowl. Why? Why are we going there? Why are we going to such fantastic length? It says, Bei Abba, the house of their father, is Avodah Salilim. It says, Ha'omer la'etza v'yota. The one that tells the tree, you are my father. So it's Avodah Salilim, and that's called their father, as it were. It's Avodah Salilim ichoivo. Avodah Salilim is a debt. What do you mean it's a choivo? That it judges everybody to the side of guilt. And anybody who connects himself to that, and everybody connected to greed ends up owing a lot of money. This is we can see flat out. This yoke is hanging around the neck of people, that they don't have enough with their own money, and they borrow they'll borrow money from others, and now it seemed to them like they're making a ton of money, they are earning a lot of money, and afterwards they die by because, and if they don't die by mamish, in other words, they don't die with a minus in the bank, and they live their lives as debtors. In other words, they toil and they put in a great effort, and they put themselves into danger. What for little profit? Why? To pay the debt of their father. What it means in order to pay the ransom of the Avodah Zarah. The Avodah Zarah is the greed. It presses upon them, and as if they owe a great debt in the gray market, to a loan shark, that they have to run after and run after. The Avodah Zarah is a loan shark. The vig is like 50% a week or whatever it is, and you have to keep on running and running and running after that. Because the debt of Avodah Zarah, that's the debt of Avodah Zarah, mitzvah. It's a mitzvah to be mekayim the words of the niftar. And this is pressing on their neck as if they had the last will testament from their father. You gotta pay this. You gotta pay this. Let them pay his chayv. That's what the Maharsha said. Tala piske b'tzavar. It had a note hung on its neck. The Maharsha says shtar tzavor, the star of last will and testament. And this is what is intrinsic in the words, what is alluded to in the words of Rabbi Shur ben Chananya, is that those that are connected, are glued in the Taivas moment, it's as if they are wearing a shtar chov, a promissory note of the Avodah Zarah, that they owed the Avodah Zarah 100,000 zuz, because the Avodah Zarah physically makes them balei and it makes them work hard, as if they have a chayv to the Avodah Zarah. And we can see it today. They put in the newspapers, have all these ads. You buy, quality meat, and you buy, You buy these suits that everybody's gonna, drop from amazement how good you look. And the newest yogurt is spoil yourself. It wasn't used to be like this. This is not for us. It's not our world. The people live like this, and they a new car and a fancier car. Or all this comes from this debt of the Zara. And people, they earn nice living. They make nice living. They can make 20, 30,000 shekels a month, and after years, they find themselves in almost 1,000,000 shekels of debt. How on earth did you come to that? The answer is because they spent more money than they earned. Because that's the greed. That's whatever. It's like they have a chayv. They have a chayv. They have to pay this debt to their greed. And then someone told him, now they're asking a different question. A salt that spoils, that rots, how do you fix it? He says, how do you salt it? The way to fix, to rectify the taiva for money is bris melach. In other words, b'mitzagan bris kodesh. And with this, a person is being saved from tavas moment. They asked him, Zeh shetikan brisoy, a person that was saking the bris. Okay, how does he, if he fell into the stink of tavas moment, what's his tikkun? He told them, b'siluso dechedenaisa, with the placenta of a female mule. Because really, there's another tikkun to the tavas moment. Now that the person should look to the shirish of the money. The money is really a very, very, very high thing. We know that the higher things are, the lower they are when a person falls. That's why, obviously, in Taivas Noshim, so we know that that's the highest kedusha a person can tikkun abris is the highest kedusha that there is. And when a person is in holiness of matrimony and is behaving in a holy fashion, that's the highest level that can be. It's mamshich the neshama to the world. It's the highest level that can be. From the highest level, it goes to the lowest level that there is. If a person corrupts that taiva, it becomes the filthiest thing in the world. So money is the same thing. Money comes from what they call the supernal colors, supernal lights of the spheres of the chesed, gvura, tiferes. That's kaviochel, the or upon mamish, as it's melubish in the spheres. And if the person were to look to the root of the money, not the money, the physical money, but the root of the money, there, a person looks there, his battle tavosei, the type of money is going to go away. Kisham b'shosho, in the root of money, what money is in the root before it becomes physical. The shefa is kula or tzach or metzuchtzach. It's a totally pristine, super clean light. V'tanu gruchni, and it's a spiritual pleasure that has no end. I heard a commercial in the radio for Yontiv to sell, to buy, it doesn't matter what. And what they say, it says, it's a pleasure to receive and an honor to give. This is a sentence, a statement of somebody who's in Tavas moment. It's a pleasure to get. What about the pleasure to give? No. There, I'm buying covet for myself. I'm giving you a precious gift. So you should honor me. You're doing it's a covet to give. Why didn't you say that it's a pleasure to give? Because I'm in Tavas moment. That's the commercialism of today. We're talking about here a spiritual pleasure. It's a pleasure to give. It's a pleasure to give. When a person is into giving, into giving. It's a pleasure to give. That's life. The only when here, when the money is, when it's cold hard cash is right here. Who is foolish enough to throw away a spiritual pleasure? And to take this thick, coarse pleasure. Okay, granted, okay, you sold me. But how do you get to this kind of istaklos? How can you look at the source of the money? I look up, I don't see anything. How come I don't reach it? You have to rectify this bris kodesh. Watch what you're thinking, watch what you're looking at, watch what you're saying, watch what you're listening to. From my flesh, I will see Hashem. First of all, you have to fix Msar Kodesh, and then you can watch at Elokus. Then you can see Elokus. Bishvil zeh iker tikun Tavas Momen. The main rectification of Tavas Momen is Tikkun Bris. And when a person is okay in Tikkun Bris, it's not possible for him to fulfill the Tavas Momen. Automatically, he's spared for that. Kadei Melach, which is the bris, which is the tzaddik, which is the thing that's Tavas Momen Chasa. This takes away the greed canal. V'shorsh ashpoes, and what's all? So what's that root called? It's called shirkos placenta. This is the shorsh. Sheshamu nachva. That's the womb. That's the placenta. This is where it comes from. Ki ashilu b'chinas dalta bitni. Basically, we're talking about womb. That's the doors of my stomach, because there are two doors in the woman. Lo sagar dalta bitni. Hashem did not close, the doors of my womb. V'nasa mishne dalatin. The dalet is one dalet. You know how dalet looks like. This is a dalet. And take another dalet, and when you put them together, it becomes the opening of the womb. Dalte bitni. Now, dalatin, from the two connected dalet letters, it becomes mem stumo. That's the womb. This is where the fetus is. This pronounced mem yom shetzios avlad, and so we are going to stand here. We're going to stop here. Now, tomorrow night is obviously B'dikas Chometz night. So, ostensibly, it looks like we won't be able to have a shir. Definitely not at 9 o'clock. In Bristol, I'll speak to Avram Statman and mull it over. If there's any news, I don't see how we can do it, but maybe, I don't know. Next week is going to be Yom Tov, the Thursday night, but the Wednesday Shir Mitzvah Hashem will be, Chol HaMoed, and obviously Mitzvah Shabbos Bezat Hashem, and a Monday night. So, Bezat Hashem, if I don't see you tomorrow night, I want to wish each and every one of you a Frach and Kosher Yom Tov and Pesach, and the main thing is Rabbeinu says, say the Agoda out loud, and saying the Agoda loud is Tikkun Bris, and with this Bezat Hashem we will be Zoicha to Tikkun Bris, Zoicha to Mevatel Tavas Momen, and connect with to reduce the greed and connect with Or Chaim B'zat Hashem. That's what comes down with Hashem and Seder night. So we'll